I found out my husband had destroyed our marriage the same way he built most of his confidence on TikTok, in front of strangers. It started with a message from my best friend Megan. Just a link. And 2 words. Call me. I clicked. There was Ethan, my husband, leaning against the bar where he and his friends always went on Mondays. Someone off camera asked him, laughing, "So what's it like being married to Hannah?" Ethan smirked like he'd been waiting for that question. Then he said it. "Honestly, she's probably the most hideous woman I've ever been with." The room exploded with laughter. 12 hours earlier, that same man had kissed my forehead in our kitchen and said, "Love you, babe." So I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I disappeared. And this morning, after ignoring 37 missed calls, I opened my front door to find my husband on his knees, sobbing like his whole world had just fallen apart. For a long time, I just sat there staring at my phone. The video kept replaying automatically, like the internet itself had decided I needed to watch my humiliation on a loop. Ethan leaned against the bar counter, one arm draped around his friend Tyler's shoulder. The neon lights behind him flickered blue and red across his face. Someone off camera laughed and said, "Come on, man. Be honest." That was when Ethan said it. "Honestly, she's probably the most hideous woman I've ever been with." More laughter. Someone whistled. Another voice added, "Savage." Ethan grinned like he had just delivered the punchline of the century. Then he kept going. "But hey, she cooks great. And she doesn't complain when I go out with the guys. Low maintenance." The video ended there. 3 years of marriage reduced to a joke that lasted 14 seconds. I didn't cry. Not right away. Instead, I locked my phone and placed it face down on my desk like it had suddenly become something fragile. Around me, the office buzzed with normal sounds, printers, quiet conversations, someone heating soup in the break room microwave. How was the world still moving like nothing had happened? My phone buzzed again. "Megan, are you okay?" I stared at the message for a moment before typing back. "Me. Can I come over tonight?" Her response came instantly. "Megan. You don't even have to ask." I packed my bag slowly after work. Laptop, charger, a change of clothes, my passport folder, the one I kept in my desk drawer because freelancers learn early that important documents should always stay close. When I walked out of the building, the sky was already turning orange. My phone had 23 missed calls. All from Ethan. I muted the notifications. The drive to Megan's apartment felt surreal. The entire time, my brain kept replaying a different moment from the night before. Ethan standing in our kitchen, rolling up his sleeves, tasting the pasta sauce and smiling at me. "You always make it better than the restaurant," he had said. Then he had kissed my forehead like he did almost every night. The memory felt fake now. By the time I reached Megan's building, my phone showed 31 missed calls. Megan opened the door before I even knocked. She took one look at my face and immediately pulled me into a hug. "Okay," she said quietly. "We're going to handle this one step at a time." Inside her apartment, she poured 2 glasses of wine and handed one to me. I didn't drink it. Instead, I asked the question that had been building in my chest all afternoon. "How many people have seen it?" Megan hesitated. That was answer enough. But she said it anyway. "Last time I checked, around 100,000 views." The number landed like a weight. I leaned back against the couch and stared at the ceiling. My husband just called me the most hideous woman he's ever been with. To 100,000 people. Megan sat beside me. "You don't have to deal with him tonight," she said. "You don't have to answer anything until you're ready." My phone buzzed again. Call number 34. Then 35. Then 36. Ethan left a voicemail. I didn't listen to it. Instead, I opened our shared location app and quietly turned my location off. Megan noticed. She raised an eyebrow. "You disappearing?" I nodded. For a little while. For the first time since watching that video, I felt something close to calm. Because disappearing meant one important thing. Ethan didn't get to watch my reaction. He didn't get tears. He didn't get a fight. He didn't get the emotional scene he could twist into another story for the internet. Outside, Megan's city apartment hummed with distant traffic and late-night noise. Inside, my phone buzzed one more time. Call number 37. I turned the phone completely off and set it on the coffee table. "Tomorrow," Megan said gently. "He's going to want to talk." I nodded slowly. But deep down, I already knew something Ethan didn't. When a man humiliates you in front of the world, the marriage doesn't end when he apologizes. It ends the moment you realize you deserve better than being someone's punchline. The next morning, I woke up in Megan's guest room to the quiet hum of her coffee machine. For a few seconds, everything felt normal. Then I remembered the video. The laughter. Ethan's voice. My chest tightened again. I reached for my phone on the nightstand. I had turned it off the night before, but curiosity eventually won the argument in my head. When the screen lit up, the notifications flooded in instantly. Texts, calls, voicemails. Ethan's name appeared over and over again. 37 missed calls. My stomach dropped. The first message was from midnight. Ethan. Hannah, please answer. Another came 5 minutes later. Ethan. I don't know what you saw, but please talk to me. By 2 a.m., the messages had changed tone. Ethan. This is getting ridiculous. Ethan. You're really going to ignore me over a joke? I stared at the screen for a long moment. A joke. That word again. Downstairs, Megan called out from the kitchen. Coffee's ready if you want some. I walked into the kitchen slowly, still holding my phone. Megan glanced up from the counter and studied my expression. Let me guess, she said. He's panicking. I slid the phone across the counter so she could see the call log. Megan let out a low whistle. 37 calls, she said. That's not panic, that's desperation. I poured myself coffee and leaned against the counter. He says it was a joke. Megan looked at me like I had just told her the sky was green. A joke? She repeated. I nodded. Apparently calling your wife the most hideous woman you've ever been with to 100,000 people is comedy now. Megan shook her head slowly. You know what the worst part is? She said. What? He didn't apologize first. She was right. Even in 37 calls and a dozen messages, Ethan had never once written the words, I'm sorry for humiliating you. Instead, everything sounded like damage control. After breakfast, Megan left for work. Before she walked out the door, she turned to me. If he shows up here, call me. Or better yet, call your brother. I nodded. But the truth was, I didn't think Ethan knew where I was. For most of the morning, the apartment stayed quiet. I tried answering a few work emails, but every time my phone buzzed, my heart jumped. Unknown numbers started appearing. Ethan using his friends' phones. Probably. I ignored them all. Around noon, Megan texted me. Megan. Any updates? Me. Just more calls. Megan. He'll run out of phones eventually. I almost smiled. But the calm didn't last long. At 1:42 p.m., my phone buzzed again, this time with a message from a number I recognized. Brooke. Ethan's younger sister. I opened it cautiously. Brooke. Hey Hannah. Ethan's really upset. Maybe you should talk to him before things get blown out of proportion. My jaw tightened. Blown out of proportion. Like I was the one escalating things. I didn't respond. Instead, I blocked the number. 2 hours later, I decided I needed to go home. I had left half my work files on my computer there, and I couldn't avoid the house forever. I waited until late afternoon, hoping Ethan would be at work. The drive to my townhouse felt strange, like returning to a place that no longer belonged to me. When I pulled into the driveway, I immediately noticed something that made my chest tighten. Ethan's car wasn't there. Relief washed over me. Maybe this would be quick. I grabbed my keys and walked up the small path to the front door. The autumn air was cool, and the neighborhood was quiet except for a lawnmower somewhere down the street. For a moment, everything looked exactly the same as it had 3 days ago. I unlocked the door. But as soon as I stepped onto the porch, something moved in my peripheral vision. Someone stood up from the corner of the steps. My heart jumped into my throat. Ethan. He looked terrible. His hair was messy, his eyes red, his shirt wrinkled like he'd been wearing it for days. The second he saw me, his face crumpled. Hannah. Before I could even process what was happening, Ethan dropped to his knees on the front porch. Actually dropped. Like gravity had suddenly given up on him. Hannah, please, he said, his voice breaking. Please just talk to me. I froze. The scene felt surreal. Cars drove past down the street. A neighbor's dog barked somewhere nearby. And there was my husband on his knees in front of our house like he was auditioning for the saddest moment in a movie. I've been calling you nonstop, he said. I didn't know where you were. I didn't move closer. I didn't touch him. I just stood there, holding my keys, looking down at the man who had laughed while strangers mocked me online. You humiliated me, I said quietly. Ethan shook his head immediately. No, it wasn't like that. Really? I asked. He wiped his face with both hands, breathing hard. I was drunk, he said. The guys were pushing me to say something savage. It was supposed to be funny. Funny. That word again. I tilted my head slightly. So which part was the joke? I asked calmly. The word hideous? Or the part where you said you were thinking about upgrading? Ethan's mouth opened, but no words came out. For the first time since I'd seen him, the panic in his eyes shifted into something else. Fear. Because he realized something important. I had seen the whole video. All of it. And suddenly, the man crying on my front porch didn't look like a victim anymore. He looked like someone who had just realized his audience was gone. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Ethan was still kneeling on the porch, breathing hard like he had just run a mile. I could hear the faint rustle of leaves in the yard and the distant hum of traffic from the main road. Everything around us felt strangely calm, too calm for the kind of scene that should have been happening. Finally, Ethan stood up slowly. Hannah, please, he said again, quieter this time. Can we just go inside and talk? I didn't move. The front door was still locked behind me. My hand rested on the knob, but something inside me refused to turn it. You already said everything you wanted to say, I replied. That was a joke, Ethan insisted quickly. A stupid one, okay? I was drunk. Tyler was filming and everyone was egging me on. I didn't think. That's the problem, I cut in. You didn't think. He looked like he was about to argue, then stopped himself. His shoulders sagged a little. I deleted the video, he said. It's gone now. That doesn't erase the 100,000 people who already saw it. Ethan ran a hand through his hair. I know, he said. I know, and I hate myself for it. I've barely slept. I've been trying to find you everywhere. I studied his face carefully. There were dark circles under his eyes. His voice trembled slightly. If I didn't know better, I might have believed he was genuinely devastated. But one thought kept echoing in the back of my mind. He wasn't devastated when he said it. Where have you been? Ethan asked suddenly. I didn't answer. Hannah, you disappeared, he continued. Your phone was off. I checked your office parking lot, Megan's building, even the grocery store you go to every Sunday. I thought something had happened to you. Something almost like anger flickered through me. You were worried about me? Of course I was. Interesting, I said quietly. Because you didn't seem worried about me when you told a bar full of strangers I was the most hideous woman you'd ever been with. Ethan flinched. For a second, his expression hardened just for a moment before he forced it back into something softer. I didn't mean that, he said quickly. You still said it. That's not what I actually think. Then why did it come so easily? The question hung in the air. Ethan opened his mouth again but hesitated. It was the smallest pause. But I noticed it. He noticed that I noticed it too. I messed up, he said finally. Okay? I said something cruel because I wanted to look funny in front of the guys. I shook my head slowly. No, I said. You said something cruel because you believed you could get away with it. Ethan's face tightened. That's not fair, isn't it? For a moment, the calm mask he'd been trying to hold slipped. Frustration flashed across his eyes. You're acting like I committed a crime, he said. You publicly humiliated your wife? I replied. What reaction were you expecting? Ethan exhaled sharply. I expected you to talk to me like a normal person instead of disappearing for 4 days. The words hit me like a cold splash of water. 4 days. That was how he saw this. Not 4 days of shock. Not 4 days of rebuilding my dignity. Just 4 days of inconvenience. I needed space, I said. You punished me. No, I corrected gently. I protected myself. For the first time, Ethan looked genuinely confused, like the idea had never crossed his mind. A car drove past slowly down the street. I noticed Mrs. Donnelly from 2 houses over peeking through her curtains. Great. Now, the neighborhood audience was starting. Ethan followed my glance and lowered his voice. Hannah, please, he said. Let's not do this out here. He reached toward the door like he intended to open it himself. I stepped slightly in front of it. The movement was small, but the message was clear. You're not coming inside. Ethan blinked at me. What? You heard me. This is my house too. The words came out automatically, almost casually. And that was when something strange happened. Instead of getting angry, I felt a slow, calm clarity settle over me. No, I said softly. Ethan frowned. What do you mean no? I held his gaze. This house was left to me by my aunt 3 years before we got married. Ethan's expression shifted, subtly at first, then more noticeably. You live here, I continued calmly, but the deed is in my name. He stared at me like he had forgotten that detail. Or maybe like he had hoped I had. So, right now, I finished quietly, you're standing on my porch. The silence that followed felt heavier than anything we had said so far. Ethan swallowed. Hannah, he said slowly, that's not what this is about. Maybe not for him. But for the first time since watching that video, I realized something important. The power in our relationship had just shifted, and Ethan knew it too. Because suddenly, the man who had been crying and begging a few minutes earlier looked nervous. Then his phone buzzed in his pocket. He glanced at the screen, and whatever he saw made his face change again. A name flashed across the lock screen before he turned it away. Brooke. His sister. The same sister who had texted me earlier that morning. Ethan quickly silenced the call, but the damage was already done. Because in that moment, I had a sudden, unsettling thought. Brooke didn't sound surprised about the video. And if Brooke wasn't surprised, then maybe this whole situation wasn't as spontaneous as Ethan wanted me to believe. Ethan slipped his phone back into his pocket like nothing had happened. But I had already seen the name. Brooke. His sister didn't call him randomly. Brooke only called when she wanted to control a situation. Who was that? I asked calmly. Ethan shrugged. No one important. That answer alone told me everything I needed to know. I crossed my arms. Your sister has been texting me all morning, I said. Ethan blinked. What? She said maybe I should talk to you before things get blown out of proportion. Ethan's face tightened slightly. That sounds like Brooke, he muttered. The casual tone made my stomach twist. You told her about the video already? She saw it, Ethan said quickly. Everyone did. Interesting, I replied. He frowned. What's that supposed to mean? I leaned against the doorframe, studying him carefully. Because Brooke didn't sound shocked. Ethan didn't answer right away. Another small pause. Another crack. She just thinks you're overreacting, he said finally. That word again. Overreacting. The porch suddenly felt colder. You called your wife hideous in front of the internet? I said slowly. And your family thinks I'm the one overreacting. Ethan rubbed his face with both hands. Look, Brooke just thinks you and I should handle this privately. We are handling it privately. Hannah. You showed our marriage to the public first. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Then I remembered the way he had laughed in that video. Not embarrassed. Not uncomfortable. Amused. Why did you really do it? I asked quietly. Ethan sighed like the question was exhausting. I told you. I was drunk. No, I said. That explains how you said it, not why. He looked away. Across the street, Mrs. Donnelly's curtains shifted again. The neighborhood gossip network was officially online. Ethan noticed too and lowered his voice. You're making this bigger than it is. I stared at him. You humiliated me. It was a stupid joke. You said you were thinking about upgrading. His jaw tightened. That was just talk. With your friends? Yes. So that's how you talk about your wife when I'm not around. Ethan's eyes flashed with frustration. Guys say stupid things sometimes. That's not the defense you think it is. Silence settled between us again. The tension felt thicker now, like something deeper was sitting beneath the surface of the conversation. Then Ethan said something that made my chest tighten. I already deleted the video, he repeated. I tilted my head. You keep saying that like it solves something. It's gone. No, I said. It's archived. Ethan blinked. What? My friend Megan screen recorded it the second she saw it. The color drained slightly from his face. And she wasn't the only one, I added. People in your own friend group saved it too. Ethan ran a hand through his hair again. Great, he muttered. I watched him carefully. That reaction was interesting. Not sadness. Not guilt. Just irritation. You're worried about something, I said slowly. He looked up sharply. What? You're not panicking about hurting me, he scoffed. That's not true. You're panicking about the video existing. That's the same thing. No, I said softly. It isn't. Ethan opened his mouth again, but before he could speak, his phone buzzed once more. This time, he ignored it. But the screen lit up again a few seconds later. Then again, and again. I caught a glimpse of the notifications before he flipped the phone over. Messages. Multiple ones. From the same name. Brooke. 3 messages in less than 10 seconds. My stomach sank. You should answer her, I said. Ethan shook his head quickly. No. Why not? She just wants to make things worse. I studied him for a long moment. Then I asked the question that had been forming in the back of my mind since Megan first sent me that link. Ethan, when was that video recorded? He frowned. Monday night. At the rooftop bar? Yeah. What time? I don't know, he said impatiently. Late. I nodded slowly. Then I asked the one thing he clearly wasn't expecting. Was Brooke there? Ethan's reaction was immediate. Too immediate. No. The answer came out so quickly it sounded rehearsed. And suddenly, something Megan had said 2 nights earlier echoed in my head. Why does his family sound prepared? I took a small step closer. Are you sure? Yes. Because Megan told me something interesting this morning. Ethan's shoulders stiffened. What? I held his gaze. She said someone tagged Brooke in the comments under the video. For a split second, Ethan's expression froze. Just long enough for me to know. He hadn't expected that. She commented? He asked carefully. I nodded. Yeah. Ethan swallowed. What did she say? I didn't answer right away. Instead, I let the silence stretch. Then I told him the truth. Nothing. Ethan blinked. What? She didn't defend me. She didn't criticize you. She didn't ask what happened. I paused. She just wrote one sentence. Ethan's voice dropped. What sentence? I looked him straight in the eyes. Told you this would go viral. The porch fell completely silent. And for the first time since this entire nightmare started, Ethan looked genuinely afraid. For a long moment, Ethan didn't say anything. The air between us felt heavy, like the porch itself was waiting for his answer. Finally, he shook his head quickly. That doesn't mean anything, he said. I stared at him. Your sister commented told you this would go viral under the video where you humiliated your wife and you think that means nothing? Ethan rubbed the back of his neck. Brooke says stuff like that all the time. About your marriage? No. Exactly. I took a slow breath. Ethan, did Brooke know about the video before you posted it? He hesitated. That hesitation was the loudest answer he could have given. Why would she? He said weakly. Because she wasn't surprised. That doesn't prove anything. It proves more than you think. Ethan's patience was starting to wear thin. I could see it in the way his shoulders tensed and the way he shifted his weight. Hannah, he said firmly, you're building some kind of conspiracy in your head. I tilted my head slightly. Then explain something to me. What? How did Brooke know it would go viral? He opened his mouth, closed it, looked away. The silence stretched. Then he muttered, she just understands social media. I almost laughed. You mean the same sister who keeps telling you how to grow your TikTok account? That's not. The same sister who helped you film that stupid morning routine video last month? That was different. And the same sister who told you couples content gets more views than single guys talking about the gym? Ethan's eyes flicked back to mine. Now I had his attention. Because suddenly he realized I wasn't guessing. I had been paying attention for months. You're overthinking this, he said. But his voice didn't sound confident anymore. It sounded defensive. Am I? I asked. I pulled out my phone and opened TikTok. Ethan's face tensed immediately. What are you doing? Looking at your page. You don't need to do that. Oh, I think I do. His account was still there. His most recent video, the apology he posted yesterday, sat at the top. Ethan sitting in his car, eyes red, voice shaky. I hurt the most incredible woman I've ever known, he said in the clip. I'm learning from my mistakes and trying to be better. The comments were split. Half the people praised him for taking accountability. The other half called him out for humiliating his wife in the first place. I scrolled silently. Then I opened the older videos. Gym clips. Motivational speeches. Real talk for men. And then something caught my eye. A video from 3 weeks ago. Ethan sitting on our couch, talking to the camera. Sometimes you realize you've been settling, he said in the clip. And when that moment hits, you have to be brave enough to level up your life. My stomach dropped. 3 weeks ago. Before the bar. Before the video. Before the humiliation. I turned the phone toward him. You recorded this in our living room. Ethan glanced at the screen. So you were already talking about upgrading your life. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? Ethan exhaled sharply. You're twisting everything. No, I said quietly. I'm finally seeing it clearly. The calm in my voice seemed to unsettle him more than anger would have. He stepped closer. Hannah, you're acting like I planned this. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I looked down at my phone again. because another message had just appeared. From someone I didn't expect. Noah Parker, Ethan's cousin. We barely spoke these days. Which made the message even stranger. I opened it slowly. It was a screenshot. A group chat. The title at the top read, Weekend Creators. 5 names appeared underneath. Ethan, Tyler, Jake, Frank, and Brooke. My heart started pounding. I looked up at Ethan. You told me Brooke wasn't involved. She isn't. I held up my phone. Then why is she in a group chat called Weekend Creators with you and the guys who filmed the video? Ethan's face went pale. For a second, he didn't breathe. Then he whispered one word. Where did you get that? That was when I knew. Not suspected. Knew. The video wasn't just a stupid joke. It was something much worse. And Ethan had just realized that I was about to find out exactly what. Ethan stared at the screenshot on my phone like it might disappear if he looked at it long enough. His face had gone pale. For a moment, he didn't even try to deny it. Where did you get that? He asked again, his voice lower this time. Your cousin Noah sent it to me, I replied. Ethan let out a sharp breath and ran both hands through his hair. Of course he did, he muttered. I turned the phone back toward myself and scrolled through the screenshot. It was a group chat from about 5 weeks earlier. Messages stacked on top of each other, and every single one of them made my stomach twist. Tyler. Bro, if you're serious about ending it, you gotta control the narrative. Jake. Yeah man, you can't just dump her. That'll make you look like the bad guy. Then a message from Ethan. Ethan. That's what I'm trying to figure out. My heart started beating harder as I kept reading. Frank. Just slowly act distant. Tyler. Or make her break up with you. Then another message appeared. From Brooke. Brooke. Honestly, the internet loves messy breakups. A cold feeling spread through my chest. I kept scrolling. Brooke. If people think you're trapped in a bad marriage, they'll support you when you leave. My hands started shaking slightly. Ethan stepped closer. Hannah. Don't, I said quietly. But I kept reading. The next message made my stomach drop. Ethan. What if I just say something savage on camera? 3 dots appeared under the message in the screenshot someone typing. Then Brooke responded. Brooke. Do it somewhere public. Bars always work. Another message. Brooke. Make it funny so people share it. And finally, the one that made everything click into place. Brooke. Trust me. That'll go viral. My chest felt tight. Slowly, I looked back up at my husband. So the video was your idea? Ethan didn't answer. You didn't say it because you were drunk. Still nothing. You said it because you thought it would help you leave the marriage looking like the victim. His silence confirmed everything. The man who had been crying on my porch 20 minutes ago suddenly looked very different. Not desperate. Calculated. You were trying to make me look like the problem, I said. That's not. You were building a storyline. Ethan's jaw tightened. You're twisting things. Am I? I lifted the phone again and read the final line in the screenshot out loud. Trust me. That'll go viral. Ethan closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them again, the tears were gone. In their place was something colder. You weren't supposed to see that, he said quietly. The words hung in the air. Not that isn't true. Not that's fake. Just you weren't supposed to see it. My chest felt hollow. So, everything these past few days, I said slowly. You crying on my porch. You begging me to talk. You calling me 37 times. That was just another performance? Ethan's voice dropped. No, that part was real. Because your plan didn't work, I said. His expression flickered, and there it was again. That tiny flash of truth. You thought I'd confront you? I continued. You thought I'd scream. You thought I'd dump you. And then you'd look like the poor guy who tried to make it work. Ethan didn't interrupt. Because he couldn't. The silence said everything. Across the street, Mrs. Donnelly's front door creaked open. She stepped outside slowly, pretending to check her mailbox. The neighborhood audience was growing. But suddenly I didn't care. I looked Ethan straight in the eyes. You didn't just insult me, I said. You tried to turn my life into content. Ethan's shoulders stiffened. You're acting like I committed a crime. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. Instead, I said something that made him go very still. You might have. His brow furrowed. What? I locked my phone and slipped it back into my pocket. I spoke to a lawyer this morning. That was a lie. But it worked. Ethan's entire posture changed. What lawyer? A privacy attorney. His face tightened. Hannah, that's ridiculous. Is it? You're not seriously going to turn this into a legal issue. I held his gaze calmly. You publicly damaged my reputation. You used our marriage for online engagement. And you were planning to keep doing it. Ethan scoffed. No court is going to care about a stupid TikTok video. Maybe he was right. Maybe he wasn't. But the uncertainty in his eyes told me something important. For the first time since this entire nightmare started, Ethan wasn't the one controlling the story anymore. And he knew it. The porch went quiet again. Then he asked the one question he clearly hadn't expected to need to ask. Hannah, what are you going to do? I looked at the front door of the house. My house. Then back at him. And for the first time since seeing that video, I felt completely calm. I'm going to finish what you started, I said softly. Except this time, the truth is going to be the thing that goes viral. The next morning, Ethan's TikTok apology video disappeared, not because he deleted it, because the platform removed it. I found out around 9 a.m. when Megan burst into my kitchen holding her phone like she had just discovered a plot twist in a movie. Hannah, she said. What? You might want to see this. She turned the screen toward me. Ethan's account was still there. But the apology video was gone. In its place was a gray notice. Content removed due to a privacy and harassment complaint. Megan's eyebrows shot up. Please tell me that was you. I shook my head slowly. No, because I hadn't filed anything yet, which meant someone else had. Before I could even process that thought, my phone buzzed. A new message. From Rebecca Sloan, the lawyer Megan had suggested the night before. I opened it. Rebecca. Good morning, Hannah. I reviewed the materials you sent last night. Based on the evidence, I filed an emergency privacy complaint with the platform early this morning. I stared at the message. Megan leaned closer. Well, she asked. She filed it. Megan grinned. Wow, I like her already. But the message wasn't finished. Another line appeared underneath. Also, your husband attempted to monetize 2 clips referencing your marriage. That significantly strengthens your position. My stomach tightened. Monetize? Megan repeated. I nodded slowly. That means he was planning to make money from this. Megan sat down heavily. You're kidding. I shook my head. No? For a moment, the kitchen went quiet. Then Megan muttered the only logical response. Your husband is a complete idiot. I almost laughed. But the moment didn't last. Because my phone started buzzing again. Calls, texts, notifications. All from Ethan. Apparently, he had just discovered his video had vanished. The first message came through immediately. Ethan, did you report my account? Another one. Ethan, Hannah, what the hell did you do? Then a call. I didn't answer. Instead, I watched the phone ring until it stopped. 30 seconds later, another message appeared. Ethan, this is insane. Followed by, Ethan, you're trying to destroy me. Megan looked at the screen and scoffed. He destroyed himself. But Ethan wasn't finished. Another message appeared. Ethan, you're going to regret this. That one made Megan's expression darken. Okay, she said. That's not just drama anymore. I nodded. Because Rebecca had warned me about something like this. When people lose control of a narrative they created, they don't usually respond calmly. They escalate. I typed a single message back. Me. All communication should go through my attorney. Then I blocked the number. Megan blinked at me. Wow, she said. That was very adult. I'm learning. Across town, Ethan was probably panicking. His carefully crafted storyline had just collapsed. The video that was supposed to turn him into a misunderstood husband had instead turned into evidence. Evidence of harassment. Evidence of reputation damage. Evidence of a plan. And the internet had already started noticing. Because while Ethan's apology video was gone, the original bar clip was still circulating everywhere. Screen recordings, reposts, reaction videos, thousands of comments. Most of them asking the same question. Why would a husband say that about his wife? But the real collapse happened about an hour later. My phone buzzed again. Another message. This time from Noah. Noah, you might want to check Ethan's account again. I opened TikTok. His page had changed. Not just the missing video. Everything. His bio was gone. His brand partnerships were gone. Even his profile picture had been replaced with a blank gray circle. I refreshed the page. Then again. And then the notification appeared. This account is currently under review. Megan leaned over my shoulder. Oh, she said softly. That's Bad. I set the phone down slowly, because suddenly I realized something. For weeks, Ethan had been trying to control the narrative of our marriage, trying to turn humiliation into engagement, trying to turn betrayal into content. But the internet had done something he didn't expect. It had stopped listening to him. And once that happened, the story no longer belonged to him anymore. 3 weeks later, the house was quiet again. Not the heavy, uncomfortable silence that had filled it after the video. A different kind of quiet. The peaceful kind. The kind that comes when chaos finally leaves your front door. I stood in the kitchen early that morning, watching sunlight spill across the hardwood floor. The same kitchen where Ethan and I used to drink coffee together before work. For a long time, I had wondered if the memories here would always feel ruined. But something surprising had happened. The house didn't feel haunted anymore. It just felt like mine. My phone buzzed softly on the counter. A message from Rebecca. Rebecca. Quick update. The platform confirmed the account review. Your husband's monetization privileges have been suspended pending investigation. I read the message twice. Not because I was shocked, but because a strange calm had settled over me. For weeks, I had imagined revenge. Public humiliation. A dramatic confrontation where everyone finally saw Ethan the way I did. But the truth was quieter than that. Consequences had simply caught up with him. I typed a short reply. Me. Thank you for everything. Rebecca responded almost immediately. Rebecca, you did the hard part. You documented the truth. I set the phone down and poured myself coffee. Outside, the neighborhood was waking up slowly. Mrs. Donnelly was watering her plants across the street. A delivery truck rolled past the corner. Normal life. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was part of it again. Later that afternoon, Megan came over carrying a takeout bag and 2 iced coffees. Celebration lunch, she announced. For what? I asked. For surviving your husband's midlife influencer crisis. I laughed, the sound surprising even me. We sat on the back porch, the warm spring air drifting through the yard. Have you heard from him? Megan asked. I shook my head. No. And that was the truth. After Rebecca sent the formal notice through her office, Ethan had stopped contacting me directly. Everything went through lawyers now. Quiet. Professional. Distant. Exactly the way it should have been from the beginning. Megan leaned back in her chair. You know, she said, most people would have tried to destroy him publicly. I thought about that for a moment. I don't need to, I replied. Why not? I looked out at the small maple tree in the yard. The one Ethan and I planted the first year we moved into the house. I think people eventually reveal who they are, I said. You just have to step out of the way and let them. Megan nodded slowly. Fair point. For a moment we sat in comfortable silence. Then she grinned suddenly. So what now? What do you mean? You just went through the most dramatic breakup in the history of TikTok husbands. I rolled my eyes. Please don't call it that. She laughed. But seriously, what's next for Hannah Parker? I thought about that question longer than I expected. For years, my life had been tied to Ethan's plans. His career, his schedule, his ambitions. Even the TikTok account that ended up destroying our marriage had started as something I helped him manage. Now all of that space felt empty, but not in a bad way, in a way that felt full of possibility. I'm taking that consulting contract Rebecca mentioned, I said finally. Megan's eyebrows lifted. The brand strategy one? Yeah, that's huge. I know. And the house? I looked around the backyard. The porch. The garden. The windows that reflected the afternoon sun. This place was mine before Ethan, I said. And it still is. Megan raised her coffee cup. To Hannah's house. I clinked mine against it. To new beginnings. Later that night, after Megan left, I sat alone on the porch steps. The same porch where Ethan had knelt weeks earlier, crying and begging for another chance. At the time, I had thought his tears meant something. Now I understood something different. Some people cry because they regret what they did. And some people cry because their plan didn't work. Learning the difference had changed everything. My phone buzzed one last time before I went inside. A notification from TikTok. For a split second, my stomach tightened. Then I opened it. It wasn't about Ethan. It was an automated message. Your privacy report has been resolved. Thank you for helping us keep our community safe. I stared at the screen for a moment. Then I locked the phone and slipped it into my pocket, because for the first time since that video appeared on my screen weeks ago, my life wasn't connected to Ethan's story anymore. It was finally my own.